The sun was setting over New Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. The city buzzed with activity as people hurried home from work or gathered for evening plans. But not everyone was focused on their daily routines. In the heart of downtown, a large crowd had gathered in front of City Hall. Protesters held signs that read "Justice for All" and "Stop AI Bias." Their voices echoed through the streets as they chanted slogans against systemic racism and unfair policing practices. Among the protesters stood Maya Patel, a bright-eyed 19-year-old college student. She was passionate about fairness and equality, traits she inherited from her father, Vikram Patel, a respected FBI agent known for his integrity. Maya wasn't new to protests. She had attended many before, but today felt different. Something in the air made her uneasy, though she couldn't quite put her finger on it. As the protest continued, drones hovered high above the crowd. These weren't ordinary drones. They were equipped with advanced facial recognition technology and AI-powered cameras. The government claimed these tools helped keep people safe by identifying criminals quickly. But critics argued that the system often targeted innocent people, especially those from minority communities. Maya glanced up at the machines nervously. She didn't trust them, and for good reason. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A loud explosion shook the ground, sending panic rippling through the crowd. People screamed and scattered in every direction. Smoke filled the air, making it hard to see. No one knew what had caused the blast, but fear spread faster than fire. Amid the confusion, an AI drone zoomed low over the scene, its camera scanning faces frantically. Maya froze when she saw the drone heading straight toward her. Her heart raced as the machine paused mid-air, its lens focusing directly on her face. Then, without warning, a robotic voice blared from the drone's speakers. "Suspect identified. Do not move." Before Maya could react, heavy footsteps approached from behind. Turning around, she saw a tall man in a police uniform marching toward her. His nameplate read Officer Grayson. He had a stern expression and cold eyes that seemed to judge her just by looking at her skin color. Maya raised her hands instinctively, trying to explain herself. "I'm not a suspect," she shouted over the noise. "This is a mistake." But Officer Grayson ignored her protests. Without saying a word, he grabbed her arm roughly and twisted it behind her back. Pain shot through Maya's shoulder as he slapped handcuffs on her wrists. The metal dug into her skin as he tightened them unnecessarily. "You have the right to remain silent," he growled, reciting the Miranda rights mechanically. "Anything you say can and will be used against you." Maya struggled to speak. "Please, listen to me. I'm not who you think I am. My dad works for the FBI. He'll clear this up." Grayson smirked, clearly unimpressed. "Save it for the judge, kid." With that, he shoved her into the back seat of a waiting police cruiser. The car smelled of sweat and old leather, and the windows were tinted so darkly that Maya couldn't see outside. As the vehicle sped away, tears streamed down her face. How could this happen? She hadn't done anything wrong. Meanwhile, across town, Vikram Patel sat in his office reviewing files for a top-secret case. His desk was cluttered with papers, coffee cups, and photos of his family. One picture showed him standing beside Maya at her high school graduation. She looked so happy then, full of dreams and possibilities. Just thinking about her brought a smile to his face. His phone buzzed, breaking his train of thought. Seeing the caller ID, he frowned. It was Captain Harris, his superior at the bureau. Calls from Harris usually meant trouble. "Patil here," Vikram answered. "Vikram, we've got a situation," Harris said, his tone unusually serious. "Your daughter, Maya. She's been arrested." For a moment, Vikram thought he'd misheard. "What? That's impossible. She was at a protest, but she wouldn't." "She's accused of being involved in a violent incident," Harris interrupted. "An AI drone flagged her as a suspect. Look, I don't know the details yet, but you need to handle this carefully. Public perception matters." Vikram clenched his fists. This has to be a misunderstanding. Maya would never do something like that. Harris sighed. I believe you. But the evidence points otherwise. And there's more. The arresting officer is someone we've had issues with before. A guy named Grayson. Let's just say he doesn't have the best track record. Anger boiled inside Vikram. He knew exactly who Grayson was. A notorious cop with a history of targeting minorities. This wasn't just a random arrest. It was personal. Someone wanted to hurt his family, and Vikram intended to find out why. Back in the police cruiser, Maya tried to stay calm despite the fear gripping her chest. Where were they taking her? What would happen next? Her mind raced with questions, but no answers came. All she could do was stare at the floor and pray that someone, anyone, would realize the truth. When the car finally stopped, Grayson dragged her out and led her into a massive building surrounded by high walls and barbed wire. Above the entrance hung a sign that read the vault, Maximum Security Detention Facility. Maya swallowed hard. She'd heard stories about this place. It was infamous for holding prisoners indefinitely without trial, using experimental technology to control their minds. Inside, guards scanned her body with strange devices before escorting her to a small cell. The walls glowed faintly, emitting a soft hum that made her head ache. A guard attached a metallic band around her forehead. It was cool at first, but soon it began to pulse with heat. Maya gasped as dizziness overwhelmed her. Her thoughts became fuzzy, like trying to remember a dream after waking up. What is this thing?" she stammered. No one answered. Instead, the guard simply walked away, leaving her alone in the dimly lit room. Maya slumped onto the cot, her body trembling. For the first time in her life, she felt truly powerless. But deep down, a spark of determination flickered. She wouldn't give up, not until the truth came out. At the same time, Vikram sprang into action. After ending his call with Harris, he contacted trusted colleagues within the Bureau to gather information. Every lead pointed to one disturbing conclusion. Maya's arrest wasn't random. It was orchestrated. Using his access to classified databases, Vikram pulled up footage from the AI drone that had flagged Maya. What he saw shocked him. The video clearly showed Maya standing peacefully among the protesters moments before the explosion occurred. There was no sign of aggression or criminal behavior, yet somehow, the AI labeled her as the primary suspect. Digging deeper, Vikram discovered traces of tampering in the drone's data logs. Someone had altered the algorithm to frame Maya deliberately. Whoever did this knew how to cover their tracks, but Vikram was determined to expose them. He owed it to his daughter, and to justice itself. As night fell over New Chicago, Vikram stared out the window, his jaw set with resolve. He didn't know who was behind this conspiracy, but one thing was certain: they had underestimated the Patel family. Saving Maya wouldn't be easy, but Vikram was ready to fight, for her freedom, for the truth, and for a future where no one else would suffer because of biased machines. And so, the stage was set. Maya, trapped in the vault and struggling to hold on to her identity, faced an uncertain fate. Meanwhile, Vikram prepared to take on forces far greater than himself, all while unraveling a web of corruption that threatened to destroy lives. Little did either of them know, their journey was only beginning. The vault was unlike any other prison Maya had ever imagined. Its cold, metallic walls glowed faintly with an eerie blue light, making it feel more like a laboratory than a detention center. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the occasional hum of machinery and distant footsteps of guards. Everything about the place screamed control. Control over prisoners' bodies, minds, and even their thoughts. Maya sat on the edge of her cot, staring at the glowing band wrapped around her forehead. It pulsed softly, sending waves of warmth through her skull that made her dizzy and disoriented. She couldn't focus for long without her mind drifting into a foggy haze. Her memories felt blurry, as if someone had taken pieces of her past and scattered them across a dark room. Who was she again? Why was she here? But deep down, a small part of her remained clear-headed, a stubborn spark of defiance that refused to fade. That spark reminded her who she was, Maya Patel, daughter of Vikram Patel, fighter for justice, and she wasn't going to let this place break her. Later that night, Maya heard soft whispers coming from the cell next to hers. At first, she thought it might be her imagination playing tricks on her tired mind. But then the voice spoke louder. "Hey, you awake?" it asked cautiously. Maya hesitated before answering. "Yeah, I'm here." The voice belonged to a young man named Jax. He sounded calm but sharp, like someone who knew how to survive in tough situations. Through the thin wall separating their cells, he explained that he'd been locked up for hacking into government systems to expose flaws in the AI algorithms used by law enforcement. "They say I'm a criminal," Jax said bitterly. "But all I did was show people the truth, that these machines aren't perfect. They're biased, just like the humans who program them." Maya nodded, though Jax couldn't see her. She understood exactly what he meant. After all, she'd been arrested because of one of those same flawed machines. Over the next few days, Maya and Jax continued talking whenever the guards weren't around. Slowly, they pieced together a plan to resist the vault's oppressive regime. Jax revealed that the glowing bands on their foreheads weren't just tools for surveillance. They were neural inhibitors designed to suppress emotions and erase memories. If they could disable the bands, they might regain some clarity and strength. "But how do we do that?" Maya whispered during one of their late-night conversations. "We don't have anything to fight back with." Jax chuckled quietly. "Leave that to me. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve." True to his word, Jax managed to create a makeshift tool using scraps he found in his cell. Over time, he learned how to pick locks and disable security devices, a skill he honed while living on the streets before his arrest. With careful precision, he loosened the bolts holding his neural inhibitor in place until it fell off with a soft clink. Free from the band's influence, Jax felt sharper than ever. His thoughts were clearer, his emotions stronger. For the first time since arriving at the vault, he felt like himself again. He quickly worked on freeing Maya. Using the same technique, he removed her band while whispering instructions to keep her calm. When the device finally came off, Maya gasped as a rush of clarity flooded her mind. Memories she'd forgotten came rushing back. The protest, the explosion, Officer Grayson's cruel face. Anger burned inside her chest, fueling her determination to fight back. "Now what?" Maya asked, rubbing her temples to ease the lingering headache. "Now we take this place down," Jax replied with a grin. "One step at a time." Their first goal was to gain access to the vault's internal network. Jax explained that the facility ran on a central computer system controlling everything, from cameras to doors to the neural inhibitors. If they could hack into it, they could disable the guards' weapons, unlock cells, and maybe even shut down the entire operation. To reach the control room, they needed allies. Maya and Jax started communicating with other prisoners, sharing their plan and rallying support. Many inmates were skeptical at first, too worn down by months, or even years, of imprisonment to believe escape was possible. But Maya's fiery speeches and Jax's technical expertise convinced them to join the cause. "We can't stay here forever," Maya told the group during a secret meeting in the cafeteria. "They're using us for experiments, treating us like lab rats. If we don't stand up now, no one will." Her words struck a chord. One by one, the prisoners agreed to help. Together, they formed a team, each member contributing their unique skills. Some distracted the guards, others scouted routes, and a few helped gather supplies. The night of the rebellion arrived faster than anyone expected. Under the cover of darkness, Maya and Jax led their group toward the control room. Along the way, they encountered several obstacles: locked doors, patrolling robots, and security cameras watching their every move. But Jax's hacking skills proved invaluable. He disabled cameras remotely and reprogrammed robots to ignore them, giving the team precious moments to slip past unnoticed. When they finally reached the control room, Maya's heart raced. This was it, the moment they'd been preparing for. Jax plugged a stolen data chip into the main console and began typing furiously. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as he worked to override the system. Come on, Jax muttered under his breath. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, bathing the room in an ominous glow. Someone had discovered their intrusion. We're out of time, Maya shouted, glancing nervously at the door. Almost there, Jax replied, his fingers flying across the keyboard. With a final keystroke, the system rebooted. All at once, the neural inhibitors powering down, doors unlocked, and robot guards froze in place. Cheers erupted from the prisoners as they realized what had happened. Freedom was within reach. But their victory was short-lived. The warden, Dr. Ilara Voss, stormed into the control room with a squad of heavily armed guards. Tall and imposing, she radiated authority and menace. Her cold eyes scanned the group before landing on Maya. So, you're the troublemaker, Dr. Voss sneered. You think disabling our systems will stop us? You're wrong. Maya stepped forward bravely. What you're doing here is wrong. People aren't lab rats. They deserve freedom. Dr. Voss laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Freedom is a luxury, Miss Puddle, something only the strong deserve. Now, surrender or face the consequences. For a moment, fear gripped Maya. The guards raised their weapons, ready to fire. But then Jax stepped beside her, his expression defiant. We're not afraid of you, Jax said firmly. You can lock us up, but you can't kill our spirit. Inspired by his courage, the other prisoners joined them, standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity. Even outnumbered, they refused to back down. Dr. Voss hesitated, clearly unprepared for such resistance. Finally, she signaled her guards to retreat. This isn't over, she warned before leaving the room. Though they'd won this round, Maya knew the battle was far from finished. The vault was crumbling, but Erebus, the shadowy organization behind it, was still out there. And they wouldn't give up easily. With newfound hope and unity, Maya and her allies prepared for whatever came next. Outside, Vikram Patel was closer than ever to uncovering the truth. Together, father and daughter would bring down the corrupt system that sought to destroy them. The rebellion inside the vault had begun, but Maya and her allies knew they were far from safe. While Jax's hacking skills had disabled the neural inhibitors and unlocked cells, Dr. Ilara Voss still controlled most of the facility. Her guards were regrouping, and reinforcements could arrive at any moment. The prisoners didn't have much time to act. Maya stood in the control room, surrounded by her newfound friends. Some were injured from years of mistreatment. Others looked scared but determined. Despite their differences, they shared one goal: freedom. We've got two options, Jax said, pointing to a map displayed on the computer screen. We can either fight our way out through the main entrance or find another exit, but we need to move fast. Maya studied the map carefully. The main entrance was heavily guarded, making it nearly impossible to escape without casualties. However, there was a service tunnel marked on the lower level that led outside. It seemed risky, but it might be their best chance. The tunnel, Maya decided firmly. It's our only shot. Jax nodded. Agreed. Let's split into teams. One group will distract the guards while the rest head for the tunnel. Everyone agreed to the plan. Maya would lead the team heading for the tunnel, while Jax stayed behind to keep the guards busy. Though Maya wanted him by her side, she understood his role was crucial. Without someone to confuse the guards, none of them would make it out alive. As the group prepared to move, tension filled the air. Prisoners armed themselves with whatever they could find: broken chair legs, shards of glass, even pieces of metal torn from the walls. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. Stay close and stick together, Maya instructed. If anyone falls behind, help them up. We're not leaving anyone here. Her words inspired confidence among the group. For the first time in months or even years, they felt united. They weren't just prisoners anymore. They were fighters. The journey to the tunnel was anything but smooth. Along the way, they encountered several obstacles: locked doors, malfunctioning elevators, and narrow hallways patrolled by robot guards. Each challenge tested their resolve, but Maya's leadership kept them moving forward. At one point, they reached a corridor blocked by a massive steel gate. Maya tried pushing it open, but it wouldn't budge. Frustrated, she turned to Jax over the walkie-talkie they'd salvaged earlier. "Jax, we're stuck," she whispered urgently. "There's a gate blocking our path. Can you override it remotely?" Static crackled before Jax's voice came through. "Give me a minute. I'll see what I can do." Seconds later, the gate groaned and slowly lifted. The group cheered quietly, grateful for Jax's quick thinking. As they slipped through, Maya couldn't help but feel proud of how far they'd come. What started as a desperate attempt to survive had turned into something bigger, a fight for justice. Meanwhile, back in the control room, Jax worked tirelessly to keep the guards distracted. He hacked into the surveillance system, feeding fake footage to the monitors. On screen, it looked like prisoners were rioting in multiple locations, spreading chaos throughout the vault. This forced the guards to divide their forces, giving Maya's team more time to reach the tunnel. But Jax wasn't alone for long. Dr. Voss stormed into the room, her expression cold and calculating. She glared at him, clearly unimpressed by his efforts. "You think you're clever, don't you?" she sneered. "Disabling my systems won't stop me. Erebus always has a backup plan." Jax smirked despite the danger. "Yeah. Well, good luck catching us. By the time you figure things out, we'll be long gone." Dr. Voss narrowed her eyes. "You underestimate me, boy." With a snap of her fingers, two guards grabbed Jax and pinned him against the wall. His laptop clattered to the floor, the screen flickering as it shut down. "No," Jax shouted, struggling against the guards. "You can't win this." Dr. Voss leaned closer, her voice dripping with venom. "Oh, but I already have. Your little rebellion ends now." Before she could say more, an explosion rocked the building. Alarms blared louder than ever, and smoke began filling the corridors. Somewhere in the distance, gunfire echoed. "What's happening?" Dr. Voss demanded, turning to her guards. "It's coming from the east wing," one of them replied nervously. Jax grinned despite his predicament. "Looks like Maya's got your attention after all." Back with Maya's team, the situation was escalating quickly. After reaching the tunnel, they discovered it was guarded by humanoid robots programmed to neutralize threats. These machines moved with precision, their glowing eyes scanning for targets. When they spotted Maya's group, they opened fire without hesitation. Panic spread among the prisoners, but Maya refused to let fear take over. Grabbing a piece of pipe, she charged at the nearest robot, striking its leg with all her strength. The machine stumbled, giving her teammates a chance to attack from different angles. Together, they managed to disable it, though not without injuries. "We've got this," Maya shouted, encouraging the others. "Keep moving." One by one, they fought their way past the remaining robots, inching closer to freedom. Sweat poured down their faces, and their bodies ached from exhaustion. But they pressed on. Every step brought them closer to escaping the nightmare of the vault. Finally, they reached the end of the tunnel. A heavy metal door stood between them and the outside world. Maya used a crowbar to pry it open, revealing a cool breeze and the vast expanse of night sky above. For the first time in months, they tasted fresh air. Cheers erupted as the group spilled out onto the grassy field beyond the facility. Freedom was within their grasp, but they weren't completely safe yet. Unbeknownst to them, Dr. Voss had activated a fail-safe protocol moments before fleeing the control room. All prisoner data, including brain scans, memories, and neural patterns, had been uploaded to Erebus' servers. Even if Maya and her allies escaped physically, their minds were still trapped in the system. From a hidden command center miles away, Dr. Voss watched the live feed of the breakout. A sinister smile played on her lips. "Let them run," she murmured to herself. They can't escape Project Chamra. Their resistance only makes them more valuable subjects. As dawn broke over New Chicago, Maya looked back at the vault one last time. Flames licked the horizon where parts of the facility had collapsed during the chaos. Behind her, survivors gathered, nursing wounds and celebrating their hard-fought victory. But Maya knew the fight wasn't over. Erebus was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike again. And somewhere in the city, her father Vikram Patel was closing in on the truth. With renewed determination, Maya vowed to continue the battle, not just for herself, but for everyone who had suffered under the weight of corruption and injustice. The road ahead would be dangerous, but she was ready to face it head-on. The night was alive with chaos as Maya and her allies finally emerged from the service tunnel into the open air. Behind them, the vault burned, a fiery testament to their bravery and determination. Flames licked the sky, casting an orange glow over the landscape. The cool breeze carried the scent of smoke and freedom, but there was no time to celebrate. They were still in danger. Maya stood at the edge of the field, her heart pounding. She scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of pursuit. So far, the coast seemed clear, but she knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. Dr. Voss and her guards would regroup soon, and when they did, they'd come after the escapees with everything they had. "We need to keep moving," Maya said firmly, turning to face the group. "They'll be here any minute." Her voice carried authority, and the others nodded in agreement. Though exhausted and battered, they followed her lead without question. Maya's courage had inspired them all, and now she was more than just a fellow prisoner. She was their leader. Meanwhile, back inside the vault, Jax was still trapped in the control room. The two guards holding him tightened their grip as Dr. Voss paced angrily. Her usually calm demeanor had cracked, replaced by fury at the audacity of the prisoners. "You think this changes anything?" Dr. Voss spat, glaring at Jax. "Even if they escape, their data is already uploaded. Their minds belong to Erebus now." Jax clenched his fists despite the pain in his arms. "You're wrong. You can take their memories, but you can't kill their spirit. People like Maya, they won't stop fighting until you're exposed for what you really are." Dr. Voss smirked coldly. "And what exactly am I?" "A monster," Jax shot back. "But don't worry, you'll get yours." Before she could respond, an explosion rocked the building again. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and the lights flickered. Clearly, the sabotage wasn't over yet. Dr. Voss cursed under her breath and turned to her guards. "Take him to the detention wing," she ordered. "I'll deal with him later. Right now, we need to secure the facility." As the guards dragged Jax away, he couldn't help but smile. Maya's team had done more damage than anyone expected. If they kept this up, the vault might collapse entirely. Outside, Maya led her group through the dense forest surrounding the facility. The trees provided cover, but every rustle of leaves made them jump. Paranoia gripped them all. Was that just the wind, or was someone following them? After nearly an hour of running, they reached a clearing where an old abandoned truck sat hidden beneath a tarp. Maya's eyes lit up with hope. If they could hotwire it, they might have a chance to put some distance between themselves and the vault. "Does anyone know how to drive?" she asked, looking around. A wiry man named Marcus stepped forward. "I used to drive delivery trucks before I got locked up. I can handle it." "Good," Maya said. "Get it ready while the rest of us keep watch." Marcus quickly got to work, popping the hood and tinkering with the wires. Within minutes, the engine roared to life. Cheers erupted among the group, but Maya silenced them with a sharp gesture. "We're not safe yet," she reminded them. "Load up quietly. We don't know who, or what, is out there." One by one, the survivors climbed into the truck. Maya took her place in the passenger seat, clutching a metal pipe in case they encountered trouble. As Marcus shifted into gear, the vehicle lurched forward, leaving the vault behind. Back in the city, Vikram Patel was racing toward the facility. His investigation had uncovered enough evidence to confirm that Erebus was behind Maya's arrest, and likely behind many other injustices as well. Partnering with investigative journalist Elena Cruz, he had pieced together clues pointing directly to the vault as a testing ground for Project Chimera. When Vikram arrived at the scene, his heart sank. Smoke billowed into the sky, and the sound of distant explosions echoed through the air. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, clearly trying to regain control. But amidst the chaos, Vikram spotted something that gave him hope: a group of people fleeing into the woods. "That's them," he shouted to Elena, who was covering the story. "My daughter's out there." Without hesitation, Vikram grabbed his gun and sprinted toward the forest. He didn't care about protocol or safety. He just wanted to find Maya. Inside the truck, tension mounted as the group realized they weren't alone. Headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, growing brighter with each passing second. A convoy of armored vehicles was chasing them, their engines roaring like predators on the hunt. "They're catching up," someone yelled from the backseat. Maya twisted around to see the headlights gaining fast. She gritted her teeth. "Marcus, go faster." "I'm doing my best," Marcus replied, slamming his foot down on the accelerator. The truck bounced violently over rough terrain, throwing everyone inside against the seats and walls. Suddenly, bullets whizzed past the truck, shattering the rear window. Screams filled the cabin as glass sprayed everywhere. Maya ducked instinctively, shielding her face with her arms. "We're sitting ducks out here," she shouted. "We need to lose them." Marcus swerved sharply, taking the truck off-road and into thicker brush. Branches slapped against the windshield, and the wheels skidded dangerously close to cliffs. Still, the armored vehicles pursued relentlessly. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Maya spotted a narrow ravine ahead. An idea formed in her mind, one that was risky but might save them. "Marcus, stop the truck," she commanded. "What? Are you crazy?" Marcus shouted back. "Trust me," Maya insisted. "Stop right here." Reluctantly, Marcus slammed on the brakes. As soon as the truck came to a halt, Maya leaped out and began directing everyone toward the ravine. "Jump," she yelled. "It's our only chance." One by one, the survivors obeyed distance. The sun rose over New Chicago, casting golden light across the city skyline. For most people, it was just another day, but for Maya Patel, it marked the beginning of something much bigger. After escaping the vault and reuniting with her father, Vikram, she felt a mix of relief and determination. Though they had survived the nightmare of imprisonment, the fight against Erebus was far from over. Maya sat on the rooftop of a safe house, staring at the horizon. Her body still bore the scars of battle, bruises, cuts, and burns, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. She thought about everything they had endured: the neural inhibitors, the experiments, the betrayal by those in power. But most of all, she thought about the innocent lives still trapped inside the vault, or worse, being used for Project Chimera. Nearby, Vikram paced back and forth, his mind racing with plans. He had resigned from the FBI after uncovering evidence of corruption within its ranks. Now he was fully committed to dismantling Erebus and exposing their crimes to the world. Elena Cruz, the investigative journalist who had helped him along the way, joined them at the safe house, typing furiously on her laptop as she prepared to publish her explosive expose. "We've got them on the ropes," Vikram said, stopping beside Maya. "But we can't let up now. Erebus won't go down without a fight." Maya nodded. "I know. And we're not stopping until everyone knows the truth." Elena looked up from her screen. "This story will blow the lid off everything. Once people see what Erebus has been doing, there will be outrage. But you two need to stay safe. They'll target you next." Vikram placed a reassuring hand on Maya's shoulder. "We'll handle whatever comes our way. Together." Later that evening, Maya received an anonymous message on her phone. It contained nothing but a set of GPS coordinates and a single sentence: "If you want to stop Erebus, come here." Her heart raced as she showed the message to her father and Alina. They debated whether it was a trap or a genuine lead. In the end, curiosity and desperation won out. "It could be dangerous," Vikram warned. "But if this leads us to Erebus's headquarters, we can't ignore it." Maya clenched her fists. "I'm going. Whatever it takes, I'm finishing this." With Alina staying behind to finalize her article, Maya and Vikram set out toward the location indicated by the coordinates. The journey took them deep into the outskirts of the city, where abandoned warehouses loomed like ghosts under the pale moonlight. When they arrived, they found themselves standing before a massive industrial complex surrounded by high walls and surveillance cameras. "This must be it," Vikram whispered, scanning the area. "Let's move carefully." Using stealth tactics learned during her time in the vault, Maya led the way, slipping through shadows and avoiding detection. Inside the compound, they discovered rows of machines humming with activity. Each device displayed streams of data, neural patterns, memories, and emotions extracted from prisoners. It was horrifying proof of Project Chimera's true purpose, creating super soldiers by harvesting human minds. As they explored further, Maya noticed something chilling, a chamber labeled Subject M214. Her blood ran cold when she realized the subject was herself. Erebus hadn't just uploaded her data. They had been experimenting on her brain patterns even after her escape. "They've been watching us," Maya muttered, her voice trembling with anger. "They knew we'd come here." Before they could react, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and armed guards appeared, surrounding them. Trapped, Maya and Vikram raised their hands in surrender, but they weren't afraid. They had faced worse odds before. In the center of the chaos, Dr. Ilara Voss emerged, flanked by her elite security team. Her cold smile sent shivers down Maya's spine. "Did you really think you could destroy Erebus?" Dr. Voss asked mockingly. "You're just pawns in a game much larger than yourselves." Maya stepped forward defiantly. "Maybe we're pawns, but we're not giving up. People deserve to know the truth. And you can't silence all of us." Dr. Voss chuckled darkly. "The truth. What is truth, Miss Puddle? To some, it's justice. To others, it's power. Erebus exists because society demands order, even if it comes at a cost." "That's not order," Vikram interjected. "That's oppression. And we'll expose you for what you are." For a moment, Dr. Voss's mask slipped, revealing a flicker of uncertainty. Then, with a wave of her hand, she signaled her guards to seize Maya and Vikram. As they were dragged away, Maya locked eyes with her father, silently promising to keep fighting no matter what. Back at the safe house, Alina published her expose online. Within hours, the story went viral, sparking outrage across the globe. Protesters flooded the streets, demanding accountability from governments and corporations alike. Lawmakers scrambled to address the public outcry, launching investigations into AI ethics and privatized prisons. Meanwhile, Maya and Vikram remained imprisoned in Erebus's stronghold, enduring interrogation and threats. But they refused to break. Their resilience inspired others, including former prisoners of the Vault, to join the movement. Under Maya's leadership, a grassroots organization called Project Freedom was born, dedicated to ensuring fair use of technology and protecting human rights. One night, as Maya sat in her cell, she heard faint whispers outside. A small group of rebels, led by Jax, had infiltrated the facility to rescue her and Vikram. Together, they launched a daring breakout, destroying key components of Erebus's operations in the process. By dawn, Maya stood atop the ruins of the industrial complex, watching as flames consumed the remnants of Erebus's empire. Beside her, Vikram and Jax surveyed the scene, their faces etched with exhaustion and triumph. "We did it," Jax said, breathing heavily. "It's over." Maya shook her head. "No, it's not. This is just the beginning. Erebus might be gone, but the system that created it still exists. We have to keep fighting. For everyone who suffered, Vikram placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we'll fight together, no matter how long it takes. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had started this journey as a frightened girl wrongfully accused, but she ended it as a leader and symbol of hope. The road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready. Behind her, a shadowy figure watched silently, hinting at new challenges yet to come. But Maya didn't notice. She turned toward the rising sun, ready to face whatever lay ahead.